Marshall Masters. Marshall has been researching Earth changes in NIBIRU since 1999. And like so many others, Marshall does see a dark cloud coming. Marshall, did this Planet X situation cause the flood of Noah, for example?
Yes. And actually that is well documented in the Colburn Bible, an ancient wisdom text. In the first books of the Colburn Bible, those were penned by the ancient Egyptians about the same time as the Torah that was being written. What it says is that it definitely caused it. The story is called the story of Sesudah and Hanok. Now, the interesting thing about that is that Noah's flood, there are over 150, by some accounts as many as 200, different stories, flood stories, deluge stories, across the planet. We call it the PLANETX system. And it's a mini constellation at the core of it. It's got a brown dwarf star. Then it has its own cluster of moons and planets. It's coming up from the southern skies. It's behind the sun. We're going to be merging with it, and so it will pass overhead. And I don't want to see it. You know, it's going to be a very, very difficult time, but the signs are clearly there. We're tracking the number of fireball sightings, meteors, bolides, and it's just the increase in meteors is really alarming.
They seem to be. I know, and they seem to be getting closer. I mean, the one that happened a few years ago over Russia that injured 1,400 people, caught on video. I mean, how many more of these are we going to have?
Well, just recently, we've had 2 of them that were discovered within days of them transiting past the Earth at a relatively close distance between Earth and the Moon, and one as close as, well, the geosynchronous satellites that carry our cable TV programming. Those would have really been devastating. The one that hit in Chelyabinsk, or was airbursted, was a super bolide, and it released between 20 to 30 times the force of the Hiroshima atomic bomb. And luckily, it detonated over Siberia, the middle of nowhere. Imagine what would have happened if that had detonated, airbursted over Paris, London, New York. Yeah.
Would have been a disaster of biblical proportions.
Absolutely. Ever since Chelyabinsk, it just keeps ratcheting up, George. This last month, August, 24% more fireballs and observations than August of the previous year. And the trend just keeps going up and going up and going up. And so you have to ask, how long is it going to be, especially since we're now having daytime fireballs? This is somewhat new, where you have a fireball that is so bright it outshines the sun, and people can see it. This is a new thing that's happening. So we really, just looking at the data, trending it since 2013, the steady increases that will force mainstream media to cover it honestly.
And this Planet X cluster that you talk about, is that what is bringing all this with it?
Yes, it's pulling it with it, but it's also pushing it. And there are objects in orbit around the sun that are in benign orbits, but they're what we call PHAs, potentially hazardous asteroids. And it's coming through like a cue ball. And so these things are being scattered ahead of it. So not only is it going to drag a bunch of debris, it's also pushing it ahead, with this cue ball effect. That is what we believe we are seeing right now in the empirical data. What we are seeing is that there is an interaction between Nemesis, which is we're in a binary star system, and it's the smaller twin to Sol. Nemesis and Sol are interacting. Sol is affecting Earth, and like, for example, the ice pack in Greenland, they're discovering is that it's melting from underneath, not on top, as they were saying before. So what we are seeing is that the core of the Earth is becoming hotter and more active, which is in turn going to cause more earthquakes, more volcanism, and both of those are definitely on the uptick right now. And so, along with a whole host of other problems. So, indirectly, it's a collateral damage kind of a situation.
It's only going to get worse. That's just what we need to know, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about this planet, this PLANETX cluster. Is this what Zecharia Sitchin was talking about?
He was talking about the planet NIBIRU.
Right.
And actually, the very first person to talk about this was Carlos Muñoz Ferrada, phenomenal man, a Chilean astronomer who announced its existence in 1940. And what he said was that there was a black star with a large planet in orbit around it. And so that's where we first have this mini constellation concept, is from Ferrada. And in 2006, we broke the story on the South Pole Telescope. We said it was the perfect instrument to observe this coming in from the south. And in 2008, there were disclosure videos which were very quickly crushed. But what they showed was Nemesis and 5 to 7 objects around it. So, yes, this is a mini constellation. It's coming in. Now, in my book, Being in It for the Species, this is where I first introduce the primary objects in this system that are going to have a direct effect on Earth in terms of the coming pole shift. There's, of course, Nemesis, which is a brown dwarf star. And this is incredibly difficult to see these because they're very dirty.
What is and this has come around before, so how often?
3,600 years.
So Sitchin got that right.
Sitchin did. What Sitchin should have done that would have helped everybody was he just said 3,600 years. He didn't specify whether those were Gregorian years or lunar years.
Right. Well, we just assume years, right?
Right. And so we think, Gregorian. When you take 3,600 lunar years and contrast it with history, it just fits in, the last flyby being the Exodus, the 10 plagues.